But this reception was heartfelt and truly warm. Hesitantly, the promoter asked me if I knew who he was, and I did not. He began to explain. In 1996, about 18 years before I visited, I was a young officer and a director in the Rural Development Department, and he was a middle-aged entrepreneur. I have grown, he has stayed the same. I have grown older, he has stayed the same. A file to release 10,000 rupees. 10,000 rupees translates into what? $100? Roughly $100. Seed capital had reached my table, and he travelled from Bidar, far away, to my office to request me to sanction that money. But I was quick with files. So even before he reached Bangalore or he met me, I didn't know he was coming. There's no system of calling for an appointment. Rural people, they just visit you. They come into your office and make the request. Or we go to their homes and ask them what they want. Before he met me, I had cleared that file. So when he reached my office, my PA told him I was out. He said, your work is already done, take your sanction order, you need not meet madam. Badeppa, that is his name, had waited 18 years to meet me, and that meeting had happened purely by chance. That seed capital of about $100, which I had sanctioned way back in 1996, provided livelihood not only to him and his family, but about 150 destitute women whom he employed. It is a feeling of fulfillment that I will carry with me for life. Let me narrate another instance. In 2018, and they will remember, there were heavy floods in our neighboring state of Kerala and in one district of Karnataka which adjoins Kerala, which is called Coorg or Kodagu, where the Kaveri flows. And all the water which you drink is all Kaveri water here. Hundreds of people lost their livelihoods, our homes overnight, as they witnessed everything that they owned being washed away. At that time, I was district secretary, a supervisory position of the Coorg district. I was tasked with overseeing the relief and rescue operations in Kodagu. On reaching the district, I immediately began coordinating with the district administration, the Army, Navy, Air Force and so on to expedite the rescue operations. The prospects were bleak in the first 2 days. Many thousands were stranded and the rescue teams were struggling to reach them in hostile conditions. It was a tense time and many lives hung on our decisions and delays could be fatal. We had put the resources of the Army and the Air Force, and I had called in even the Navy to the rescue efforts, but in the fog and in the overflowing waters, it was not enough. It was at that time, on the morning of the 17th of August 2018, that I was approached by the General Timmaiah National Academy of Adventure. It is just an adventure academy run by the government. I had never heard of them before that date. They volunteered their skills and they wanted to participate in the rescue efforts. Now, I was always cautious at that time about earnest volunteers who offered help, who were actually sincerely eager to help, without understanding the perils of nature's fury. But something in the Jetna team inspired my confidence. I questioned them carefully, satisfying myself regarding their skill and professionalism. Then I decided to give them a go-ahead. It was a decision fraught with risk. At that time, I had no one to consult or ask advice from, nor time to postpone the decision. It was done. But I was exhilarated to see that Jetna not only participated in the efforts, but they rescued a girl baby who was just 2 months old, carrying her across an angry river in Spit. Pramod was the volunteer. He held that little baby in his arms like this, very close to himself, with just a cloth tied. It was one family stranded on the other side of the waters, the river was in flood. We put a ropeway across the river and he carried the little baby and swung across from one end of the one bank of the river to the other to safety. The video of this rescue effort, Jetna documented it. We are very poor at documentation, we Indians. But Jetna was trained to document efforts, and therefore the video was made by one of them, I think. And the baby herself became inspirational for a very anxious public. That split-second decision saved the baby. It was one of those days that I thanked God for making me an IAS officer. I am happy to share with you and learn from you, my fellow travelers, some of the lessons that I have gathered over the years. Lesson number 1. Public service does not only mean government, does not only mean the bureaucracy or the polity or other government services. When you enter public service, if any of you do, you will realize that there's hardly any money in it. Still, if some of you dare to venture into public life full time, you will be constrained by circumstances to join the mainstream. But walk your own path. That does not mean that you are left out or that you need to feel guilty. Today, the opportunities for service abound. You can become a volunteer, a part-time worker, you can contribute your weekends, you can use the internet, join your neighborhood residents association, join politics. My son is a neurosurgeon and he keeps very long hours from 6 a.m. in the morning to say 10 or 12 midnight. But his weekends are devoted to the rural areas near Bangalore where he goes and volunteers his services. It has nothing to do with neurosurgery, but he offers them simple medical advice. There are any number of ways that you can contribute. Please explore all these other ways and you will find a satisfactory avenue sometime. Second, adopt a public good. Make it your own. I found this a useful method because otherwise public problems are so complex, so meandering, like my talk today. One thing leads to another and pretty soon you are overwhelmed. Even if you take up one sector, it may prove too much. So take up just one public good. For me it is knowledge. It has been my good fortune to receive knowledge from so many minds wiser than mine. Now I seek to share what I have received by speaking, by teaching, by mentoring. Knowledge is my pet public good, which is within my reach, fitting into my schedule, and an area where I have some expertise in. But it can be anything. You can use your hands to grow gardens, or you can, my classmate of mine, she goes and sings in government hospitals in the intensive care unit. She's a good singer, she shares her music. Wherever you bring your concern, your hard work, your persistence, throw out ego and publicity seeking, especially important in an era of social media, and do not use it for profit. Any public good which you would like to share will do. Third, and you will find this counterintuitive, but it helped me. Be a pragmatist, not an idealist. In public life, if you go with high expectations, your disappointment will be equally high. The same rural family who invites you with open arms or whose poverty may move you to tears will not hesitate a second before committing honor killing. Those of you who are here, honor killing is when a family decides to do away with their own offspring for maybe violating the family traditions, as it were. I have visited rural settings as an officer, as a student, and as a volunteer, and I witnessed a different reality each time. This is my complex, complicated country. We need to engage with our people, and I think this is true of you as well, even as they bewilder and frustrate our efforts to understand and to serve them. I see around me some significant sparks which fill me with hope and enthusiasm. The new generation belongs to an age of sharing. We used to be a generation of hoarding. In an age of YouTube and Wikipedia and crowdsourcing, sharing has become a very potent instrument of public service. Second, we work largely alone. But in an age where both science and information technology require team effort, professionals work more easily as a team while retaining their individuality at the same time. What you may need to cultivate, at least from my limited vision as an officer, a leader, and a mother, is a greater generosity of spirit, patience, and self-belief as you embark on your journey. Thank you all once again for your patience. Good luck. I'm open to questions. Answers aren't guaranteed.
Ma'am, you want to sit?
I can sit down.
Yes, yes.